Alright, so I'm working with the Kare 1000P Hi-Temp Paste Wax. I recently picked this up, so I'm going to show you guys how it behaves in the water test and give you guys a basic overview of the wax here. And this is actually a paint sealant, so it's fully synthetic. It doesn't have any natural ingredients, no carnauba inside of the formula. But you'll see a lot of companies use the words wax and sealant interchangeably. But I've really been enjoying my time working with Hi-Temp Paste Wax here. This is the one you want to use if you're looking for a wax that delivers a lot of protection and performance. And they say it has a melting point that exceeds 250 degrees, so it's going to be great for you guys that are in high temperature environments. And a lot of users note just how well this wax is at protecting against contaminants like water spots or bugs or road grime. And they also mention a great durability from it as well. So a lot of guys are comparing Hi-Temp Paste Wax here to the Collinite waxes. But I actually don't have Collinite 915 on the paint as a direct comparison for the water test, and I'll explain that later in the video. So for this specific water test, I went ahead and applied Hi-Temp Paste Wax by Kare on the right side hood and fender facing the car here. And then I have the Rejects Paint Sealant by Corrosion Technologies on the left side hood and fender. My prep was a little bit different as well. I decided to go with the Pinnacle Paintwork Cleansing Lotion. And unlike Meguiar's M205, the Paintwork Cleansing Lotion is a non-abrasive cleaner. And then I allowed the Hi-Temp Wax and Rejects Paint Sealant to cure for 24 hours before wetting here in this test. And you can notice right away, the Hi-Temp Wax is ridiculously hydrophobic. And I didn't notice any issues wetting it directly after applying it on one of my earlier tests with it. So for you guys that really like those crazy tight beading products, the Hi-Temp Wax is really going to give you that water behavior. And this is also easy to apply and remove. I didn't have any specific issues. I didn't notice any hologramming on the paint after pulling it out in the sun. And I didn't see any residual oils left behind. I was getting a very nice clean wipe down with a microfiber towel. And they also recommend a 10 to 15 minute dry period before you begin to buff it off from the paint. So this has been surprisingly easy to work with. I mean, I have a high temperature environment here in Florida, high humidity as well. And I have to say, compared to the Collinite waxes that I've tested on this specific car, the Hi-Temp Paste Wax has been a bit easier to work with. And you might see different results based on your environment or your specific paint. I've heard some guys saying that they've noticed holograms pop up after multiple applications. So what I recommend is to apply a thin coat and then have a couple clean microfiber towels ready to go across the paint to give it that final wipe down. And they don't recommend the sealant for use on trim, so if you get some on the trim when you're going around the paint, try and get it off as soon as you can. And Rejects Paint Sealant is on this side of the paint here, and I actually wasn't planning on reviewing Hi-Temp Paste Wax this early. I was actually setting these two up to demonstrate what it looks like when we use Dawn dishwashing soap over top of these two sealants here. And so you guys are going to hear my thoughts of what I think of using Dawn dishwashing soap to try and remove your wax or sealant. So that video is coming up in the future, but I figured the lighting was great, so I'll give you guys the Hi-Temp Paste Wax video review right away. Alright, so I've got the Meguiar's Hyper Wash out. I went ahead and soaped the car down so we can see how the Hi-Temp Paste Wax holds up after using soap. And this sealant is going to be available on many of the online detailing retail sites. I picked this up from Autopia. And this sealant is a very good value for the price. This is 14.5 ounces for $18. And when you compare that against the 476S from Collinite, that runs you about $20 for 9 ounces. So this is very competitive against many of the other paint sealants that are out in the market right now. And a lot of those paint sealants are not going to be anywhere near as hydrophobic as Hi-Temp Paste Wax is. Now, the one thing that I don't like about the Kare sealant here is the smell is definitely not as good as other products. It's got a strong chemical scent to it. But aside from that, it's very enjoyable to work with. And I'm planning on setting up a durability test. I might wait until I get the Collinite 476S back in my hands. But I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts for those of you who have been working with these waxes and sealants before. Make sure you drop a line in the comments to let other guys know. Maybe you've got some tips or some specific application styles that help you out. Or maybe there was another wax or sealant that you liked a lot better compared to the Kare 1000P here. But it seems to have held up really well in the water test. You can see that the Hyperwash soap didn't seem to have any sort of impact on it. And that's not surprising at all. Again, this is one of those waxes or sealants that really boasts a lot of protection in the formula. Alright, so to wrap the video review up, I think it's clear why a lot of guys like working with the Finish Care Hi-Temp Paste Wax here. It's super easy to work with. Again, I would recommend you wait that 10 to 15 minute dry period before you begin to buff it off from the paint. And I haven't had any problems wetting the surface shortly after applying it. So unlike other sealants like the Wolfgang Deep Gloss Paint Sealant, which has a minimum cure period, I don't think you're going to see any troubles with the Finish Care Hi-Temp Paste Wax. And at 14.5 ounces for right around $18, it competes very well against other products. You got the Sonax Polymer Net Shield, the Wolfgang. I've got the Supernatural Hybrid Nano from Dodo Juice that I'm going to be working with in the future. Car Pro Reload. These are all products with a much higher price per ounce compared to the Hi-Temp Paste Wax. And so if you're a fan of the Collinite waxes, definitely go ahead and give Hi-Temp Paste Wax a try if you're looking for another sealant that's durable, that's going to give you a lot of UV protection. The Finish Care Hi-Temp Paste Wax is going to be a great option for that. And again, keep it off the trim and don't expect it to smell anything special. It's not a pleasant smelling product. That's one of the only complaints that I have about it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. Thanks for watching. And again, right after this, I'm going to be putting the Hi-Temp Paste Wax and rejects up to a Dawn dishwashing soap behavior test. We're going to see how the behavior of the surface changes after applying the soap to the paint. And then after that, I'll bump it up to isopropyl alcohol and show you guys how that behaves after applying that to the paint. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next video.